The lecture hall stretched like a cathedral of glass and metal, its curved walls displaying the infinite darkness of space beyond. 300 alien students sat in perfectly arranged rows, their bodies representing dozens of species from across the Galactic Federation. Some had scales, others feathers. A few possessed translucent skin that showed their internal organs pulsing with bioluminescent life. And then there was Maya Chen. She sat alone in the back corner, her plain human face and basic environmental suit making her look like a child playing dress-up at an adult convention. Her dark eyes scanned the room with an expression somewhere between boredom and barely contained amusement. The other students had stopped staring at her weeks ago, mostly because she had asked them, very politely, to stop before she demonstrated what human knuckles felt like. Professor Vex'Thalan stood at the front podium, his forearms gesturing dramatically as he spoke. He was a Krathari, one of the so-called apex species of the Federation. His people had conquered 6 star systems before joining the Peaceful Alliance, and they never let anyone forget it. His exoskeleton gleamed crimson under the artificial lights, and his mandibles clicked together with professorial authority. As we conclude today's lesson on survival classifications, Vex'Thalan announced, his voice carrying easily through the hall's acoustic enhancement, I want to remind you all of a fundamental truth that separates the strong from the weak, the conquerors from the conquered, the evolved from the primitive. Maya rolled her eyes so hard she almost sprained them. Only a select few species in this galaxy can claim the distinction of being true Deathworlders, the professor continued, puffing up his thorax with obvious pride. Beings who evolved on planets so hostile, so unforgiving, that every single day was a battle for survival. The Krathari, naturally, are at the pinnacle of this category. Our homeworld of Krathvar has gravity twice the galactic standard. Its atmosphere contains trace amounts of sulfur compounds that would kill most species in minutes. We evolved not just to survive, but to dominate. A few students chittered or hummed in acknowledgement, taking notes on their holographic displays. The Volrakians. Vex'Thalan gestured to a group of stone-skinned beings in the third row, also qualify, having evolved in the volcanic hellscape of their world. And of course, the sharp claws from the frozen wastes of Theta 9 deserve mention. He paused for dramatic effect, his compound eyes sweeping across the classroom. These species, and perhaps 2 or 3 others, represent the absolute limit of what natural evolution can produce when pushed to its breaking point. We are the exceptions, the anomalies, the proof that the universe occasionally creates perfection through suffering. Maya's hand shot up. Vex'Thalan's antennae twitched with irritation. This human female had been a thorn in his side since the semester began. She had the audacity to question him, to smirk at his lectures, to treat his hard-earned wisdom with casual disrespect. Yes, student Chen? His tone dripped with condescension. Do you have another irrelevant observation to share? Just a quick question, Professor, Maya said, her voice honey-sweet with false innocence. When you say you're the only Deathworlders in the galaxy, have you ever by any chance heard the name Earth? The room went silent. Vex'Thalan's mandibles clicked together uncertainly. Earth? Is that supposed to mean something to me? Maya stood up slowly, stretching like a cat waking from a nap. Several students flinched at the movement, their instincts recognizing something predatory in the gesture, even if their conscious minds couldn't identify what. Well, Professor, since we're talking about death worlds, I thought maybe I should share a little bit about my home. You know, in the spirit of academic honesty and all that. Sit down, student Chen. Your homeworld's environmental ratings are in the database. Class 3 standard planet, gravity 0.97 galactic average, temperate climate zones, abundant water. Hardly qualifies as hostile. Oh, the database, Maya laughed, and there was something sharp in that sound, like broken glass wrapped in velvet. Right, because automated surveys always get the full picture. Tell me something, Professor. Did those surveys mention that 70% of our planet is covered in water? Water is a life-giving resource, Vex'Thalan replied dismissively. How does that support your argument? Because our oceans go down 11 kilometers deep in some places. The pressure at those depths would crush your exoskeleton like an empty drink container. And things live down there, Professor. Massive things with teeth longer than your arms. Things that hunt in absolute darkness using senses you can't even imagine. A few students were paying closer attention now, their translators working overtime to capture the subtle nuances in Maya's tone. Furthermore, she continued, warming to her subject, our planet is 93 million miles from our star. That's close enough that our sun could microwave us all to death if our atmosphere didn't filter out the worst radiation. But here's the fun part. Sometimes our atmosphere fails anyway. We call them holes in the ozone layer, and they give us cancer. You know what cancer is, Professor? It's when your own cells decide to kill you. From the inside. Just because? Vex'Thalan shifted uncomfortably. Every planet has dangers. Oh, we're just getting started. Our planet has weather, real weather, not your sanitized environmental cycling. We have tornadoes that pick up entire buildings and throw them through the air like toys. Hurricanes that turn the ocean into a blender spanning hundreds of miles. Earthquakes that split the ground open and swallow cities. Volcanoes that blot out the sun for years and trigger ice ages. Many worlds have geological instability, the professor protested, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Then let's talk biology, Maya said, and her smile could have cut steel. Ever heard of the box jellyfish? Tiny thing, practically see-through. Has enough venom to kill 56 humans. Or the Sydney funnel web spider, whose bite causes your nervous system to eat itself. Oh, and we have snakes. Thousands of species. Many of them venomous enough to kill you in minutes. We have mosquitoes that spread diseases that have killed hundreds of millions of us throughout history. We have bacteria so aggressive they can eat your flesh while you're still alive. The classroom had gone deathly quiet. Even the usual background hum of translator units seemed subdued. But wait, there's more, Maya continued, pacing now like a predator circling prey. We have bears that weigh 800 kilograms and can run faster than our fastest sprinters. We have crocodiles that existed alongside the dinosaurs and still exist today because they're basically perfect killing machines. We have hippos that kill more humans per year than any predator because they're territorial and aggressive and weigh 4,000 pounds of pure rage. This is ridiculous, Vex'Thalan sputtered. If your world was so dangerous, your species would never have developed sentience. Maya laughed again, and this time it was genuine, full of dark humor that made several students reach for their emergency communication devices. That's the beautiful part, Professor. We didn't develop sentience in spite of all that. We developed it because of all that. Every single day, our ancestors woke up in a world trying to kill them. Predators in the bushes, poison in the plants, disease in the water, rival tribes across the valley who wanted their resources. So you know what we did? She leaned forward, her eyes glinting with something ancient and terrible. We got angry. We got smart. We got creative. We took rocks and made knives. We took fire and made civilization. We domesticated the wolves that hunted us and turned them into dogs that love us. We looked at horses, powerful animals that could crush our skulls with one kick. And we said, I'm going to ride that. We saw death everywhere and said, not today. You're exaggerating, Vex'Thalan said, but he had backed away from his podium. Am I? Let me tell you about marathon running, Professor. We have a sport where people run 42 kilometers just for fun. No other species on our planet can do that. We can literally run prey animals to death through sheer endurance. We don't quit. We don't stop. We just keep coming. That's called persistence hunting. And it's why humans conquered every environment on Earth, from deserts to tundra to jungles to mountains. She turned to address the entire class now, her voice carrying to every corner of the hall. We split the atom and used it to make weapons that could end all life on our planet. Then we looked at those weapons and said, maybe we should use this for power instead. We went to our moon, not because we needed to, but because it was there. We built machines that can think, cities that touch the clouds, networks that connect the entire planet instantaneously. This changes nothing, Vex'Thalan insisted weakly. Doesn't it? You stand there lecturing about Deathworlders like you've got the market cornered on suffering. Your planet has high gravity, great, we invented weight. Your atmosphere has sulfur, neat. Ours had practically no oxygen for the first billion years, and life showed up anyway. You evolved to dominate, Professor, but we evolved to survive. And let me tell you something. Survivors are way more dangerous than dominators. She walked down the aisle toward the front of the class, each footstep deliberate and measured. You want to know the real difference between humans and the rest of the galaxy? When we encounter something that wants to kill us, we don't just survive it. We figure out how to eat it. Then we figure out how to farm it. Then we charge other people money to experience it as entertainment. A Volrakian student raised a tentacle nervously. Is this true? Are humans really this dangerous? Maya's expression softened slightly. Dangerous? Maybe. Stubborn? Definitely. Crazy? Absolutely. We're the species that looked at mountains and said, I'm going to climb that for no reason except it's tall. We're the species that domesticated cats, tiny predators that openly disdain us, just because they're cute. We're the species that will spend years planning revenge for a minor slight, but also the species that will risk our lives to save complete strangers. You're proud of being insane, Vex'Thalan said flatly. I'm proud of being human, Maya corrected him. We're contradictory, emotional, irrational, and absolutely unwilling to accept that anything is impossible. You call yourselves Deathworlders because you survived your planet. We survived ours too, Professor, and then we made it our playground. She reached the podium and looked up at the towering Krathari. So next time you want to lecture about apex species and natural superiority, maybe do your research first. Because humans didn't get an invitation to this federation. We demanded one. And when they said no, we built faster ships and kept showing up until they got tired of saying no. The silence stretched for 3 heartbeats. Then a student in the back started to laugh, a chittering sound that spread through the room like wildfire. Others joined in, different species making different sounds but all conveying the same sentiment, appreciation for the audacity of what they had just witnessed. Professor Vex'Thalan's exoskeleton flushed darker red with embarrassment and rage. "Get out of my classroom," he hissed. "Gladly," Maya said cheerfully. This lecture was boring anyway. She grabbed her datapad and headed for the exit, pausing at the door to look back one more time. "Oh, and Professor, you might want to update that database. Earth got reclassified to Class 12 Deathworld last month. Turns out when the survey teams actually landed and spent some time there, they had a few panic attacks and requisitioned trauma counseling." The door slid shut behind her, leaving chaos in her while Chen walked through the corridors of Nexus Station Alpha with the confident stride of someone who had just burned every bridge behind her and couldn't care less about the smoke. The station was a marvel of engineering, a 3-mile-wide ring that housed 50,000 beings from across the galaxy. Its walls displayed ever-changing vistas of nebulae and distant stars, though Maya barely glanced at them anymore. Her communicator buzzed against her wrist. She glanced down and groaned when she saw the sender, Dean Qualseth, head of xenobiology studies and the being who had personally approved her admission to the university. The message was brief. "My office. Now. This is not negotiable." "Great," Maya muttered to herself. "Just great." She changed direction and headed toward the administrative wing, passing clusters of students who whispered and pointed as she went by. News traveled fast in the close confines of the station, and apparently her confrontation with Professor Vex'Thalan had already become the talk of the campus. A Volrakian student approached her cautiously, its rocky features arranged in what might have been a smile. "That was incredible," it rumbled in heavily accented Galactic Common. "I have never seen anyone challenge Vex'Thalan like that." "Yeah, well, someone needed to knock him down a few pegs," Maya replied. "The guy's head was so far up his own carapace he could see his breakfast." The Volrakian made a grinding sound that was probably laughter. "You are either very brave or very stupid. Can't I be both?" Dean Qualseth's office occupied a prime location with a viewport showing the actual void of space instead of a projection. The Dean herself was a meridian, a species that resembled nothing so much as a floating cluster of bioluminescent tendrils arranged around a central core of pure thought. Her kind communicated through a combination of light pulses and direct neural interface, which her translator unit converted into spoken language. Maya knocked on the door, heard a chime of acknowledgement, and entered. "Sit," Qualseth said, her tendrils pulsing with agitated purple light. Maya sat in the human-compatible chair that had been provided for her use. "Look, Dean, if this is about the Vex'Thalan thing, he started it with his superiority complex. This is absolutely about the Vex'Thalan thing," the Dean replied, her translator giving her voice a slightly musical quality. "Do you have any idea what you have done? Corrected some factual inaccuracies in his lecture? You embarrassed one of the most respected professors in the xenobiology department in front of 300 students. He is demanding your expulsion. He is calling you a disruptive influence. He is threatening to resign if you remain enrolled." Maya crossed her arms. "So let him resign. Maybe the next professor will actually care about accuracy instead of stroking his own ego." Qualseth's tendrils flashed bright orange, a sign of extreme irritation. "You do not understand the politics involved here. The Krathari are a founding member of the Federation. Their military strength is a significant deterrent against external threats. Professor Vex'Thalan is not just an educator, he is the son of a planetary governor. Offending him has consequences." "With all due respect, Dean, I don't really care about consequences right now. I came here to learn, not to listen to some armored blowhard tell me that humans are inferior because we didn't evolve on a planet that was trying slightly harder to kill us." The Dean was silent for a moment, her tendrils shifting through various colors as she processed this response. "Tell me something honestly. Chen, did you apply to this university to gain knowledge, or did you apply to prove something?" Maya opened her mouth to deliver a sarcastic response, then paused. It was a fair question, and it deserved an honest answer. Both, she finally said. When Earth joined the Federation 3 years ago, everyone treated us like we were children playing at the adult table. They smiled and nodded and patted us on the head and told us how cute it was that we had figured out faster than light travel. Nobody took us seriously. Nobody thought we had anything to offer except raw materials and potential labor. And you wanted to change that perception. I wanted to show them that we're not some backwater species that got lucky. We earned our place in the stars the same way everyone else did, through blood and sweat, and refusing to accept that some things are impossible. Qualseth's tendrils softened to a gentle blue. I understand your frustration, but you must understand that change takes time. The Federation is 10,000 years old. Its members have established hierarchies and traditions. You cannot simply storm in and demand immediate respect. Why not? Maya challenged. Every day we wait is another day humans get dismissed, overlooked, underestimated. How many opportunities are we losing because some alien bureaucrat decided we're not worth their time? More than you know, the dean admitted quietly. But antagonizing professors will not help your cause. Maybe not, but it felt really good. Despite herself, Qualseth's tendrils rippled with what might have been amusement. I cannot condone your actions. However, I also cannot deny that Professor Vex'Thalan has been due for a reality check for quite some time. His lectures have become increasingly focused on Krathari superiority rather than actual science. So, what happens now? Do I get expelled? That depends, Qualseth said carefully. Professor Vex'Thalan has issued a formal challenge. Maya blinked. A what now? A challenge. It is an old Krathari tradition. When one individual publicly questions the honor or expertise of another, the offended party may demand a contest to settle the matter. If you accept and win, all grievances are considered resolved. If you refuse or lose, you must make a formal apology and accept whatever punishment the victor demands. What kind of contest are we talking about here? That is determined by the challenger. Given the nature of your dispute, I suspect he will choose something related to survival or endurance. Maya leaned back in her chair, a slow smile spreading across her face. So you're telling me that angry Bugman wants to have a competition to prove who's tougher? In essence, yes. And if I win, he has to shut up and leave me alone? The challenge would be satisfied, and according to Krathari law, he would have to acknowledge you as his equal. When do we start? Qualseth's tendrils flashed warning yellow. Maya, please think carefully about this. Professor Vex'Thalan has 4 arms, an exoskeleton that can withstand small arms fire, and reflexes 3 times faster than human standard. Whatever challenge he designs will be created to ensure his victory. Good, Maya said simply. Let him think he's got the advantage. That's when humans are most dangerous. The challenge was scheduled for 3 days later in the station's main arena, a multi-purpose facility that could be configured for various sporting events and competitions. By the time the day arrived, word had spread throughout the entire station. The viewing stands were packed with students, faculty, and curious onlookers from every corner of the Federation. Maya stood in the preparation room, wearing a simple gray athletic suit that allowed for maximum mobility. She had spent the last 3 days training, reviewing Krathari physiology, and planning her strategy. Her communicator chimed. It was a message from her mother back on Earth. Heard you picked a fight with an alien professor. That's my girl. Kick his ass. Love you, Maya smiled. Her family had never been big on subtlety. A door opened, and a Meridian official floated in, its tendrils pulsing with professional neutrality. The challenge is ready to begin. Professor Vex'Thalan has designed a course that will test strength, endurance, speed, and problem-solving under pressure. You will both traverse the same obstacles. The first to complete the course wins. Do you accept these terms? Absolutely. Then follow me. The arena had been transformed into a nightmarish obstacle course that looked like it had been designed by someone who hated fun. Maya could see sections that required climbing, swimming, crawling through narrow spaces, solving mechanical puzzles, and enduring various environmental hazards. Professor Vex'Thalan waited at the starting line, his exoskeleton gleaming under the arena lights. His mandibles clicked together with confidence. Last chance to withdraw and apologize, human, he called out. Maya walked up to the starting line and stretched casually. Last chance to admit you're an arrogant jerk who needed to be taken down a notch. The crowd murmured with anticipation. The Meridian official raised a glowing tendril. The challenge will begin in 10 seconds. 9, 8. Maya focused her breathing, centering herself the way her grandmother had taught her during those long summers in the mountains. 3, 2, 1. Begin. Vex'Thalan launched forward with explosive speed, his forelegs carrying him across the first section faster than Maya could sprint. He reached the climbing wall and scuttled up it like gravity was a suggestion rather than a rule. Maya reached the wall and began climbing methodically, using technique instead of raw speed. She had studied human rock climbers for the past 3 days, learning how to distribute her weight and find the most efficient paths. The professor disappeared over the top of the wall while Maya was only halfway up. She could hear the crowd's reactions, some cheering for the professor, others urging her on. She reached the top and saw the next section, a pool of liquid that was labeled as having the viscosity of mud and the temperature of near freezing. Vex'Thalan was already halfway across, his powerful limbs churning through the liquid with brutal efficiency. Maya dove in and immediately regretted every life choice that had led to this moment. The cold hit her like a physical blow, and the thick liquid clung to her limbs, making every movement exhausting. But she didn't stop. She couldn't stop, because that was what humans did. They endured. She emerged from the pool shivering and exhausted to find Vex'Thalan already working on the mechanical puzzle, a complex arrangement of gears and levers that needed to be aligned to open the next gate. Maya approached the puzzle and studied it carefully. The professor was using brute force, trying different combinations rapidly with his 4 arms working simultaneously. But Maya saw something he didn't. The puzzle wasn't random. There was a pattern, a logic to it. She traced the connections with her eyes, following the flow of movement through the gears. While Vex'Thalan continued his rapid-fire attempts, Maya calmly adjusted 3 specific levers in sequence. The gate opened. She didn't wait to see the professor's reaction. She ran. The next section required crawling through a narrow tunnel filled with obstacles designed to scrape and bruise anyone foolish enough to attempt it. This was where Maya's smaller size became an advantage, where Vex'Thalan had to force his way through, scraping his exoskeleton against the walls. Maya could navigate more easily. She emerged from the tunnel seconds before him, her suit torn and her arms covered in scratches, but her eyes blazing with determination. The final section was a vertical climb up a 20-meter wall with handholds that retracted randomly, requiring constant adjustment and lightning-fast reflexes. Vex'Thalan caught up to her here, his superior reflexes allowing him to react to the retracting holds faster than humanly possible. They climbed side by side, neither willing to give up, neither willing to slow down. The crowd was on its feet, the noise deafening. Maya's arms burned with lactic acid. Her fingers felt like they were going to break. Every breath was agony. She climbed anyway. 3 meters from the top, her handhold retracted and she slipped, dropping half a meter before catching another hold. The crowd gasped. Vex'Thalan pulled ahead, reaching for the final handhold that would trigger the victory signal. And that was when Maya did something completely insane. She let go of the wall. For one heart-stopping second, she was in freefall, the crowd's screams filling her ears. Then her hands caught the wall 2 meters higher up, using the momentum of her fall to skip an entire section of climbing. She hauled herself over the top edge half a second before Vex'Thalan. The victory signal blared across the arena. Maya collapsed on the platform, gasping for air, every muscle in her body screaming. She had won, but at what cost? Vex'Thalan pulled himself up and stood over her. His breathing labored despite his advanced physiology. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he extended one of his forearms toward her. "You are insane," he said simply. Maya laughed, a sound somewhere between triumph and hysteria, and accepted his hand. He pulled her to her feet with surprising gentleness. "Yeah," she agreed. "That's kind of our thing." The professor's mandibles clicked together in what might have been respect. "I have underestimated your species. That was a mistake I will not make again. Does this mean you'll update your lectures?" "It means I will approach the subject with more humility," he replied, "and perhaps more research." The crowd erupted in cheers as Maya and Vex'Thalan stood together on the platform, an unlikely pair united by mutual respect earned through combat. Later, back in Dean Qualseth's office, Maya sat wrapped in a thermal blanket while a medical unit scanned her for injuries. "That was the most reckless thing I have ever witnessed," the dean said, though her tendrils glowed with warm gold light. "Reckless but effective," Maya pointed out. "You have made quite an impression on this station. The recordings of your challenge are already spreading through the Federation networks." Humans are suddenly a topic of considerable interest. Good. Maybe now people will take us seriously. Oh, they will take you seriously, Qualseth assured her. Though perhaps not in the way you intended. Most species now believe humans are collectively insane. Maya grinned. We can work with that. As she left the office and walked through the corridors of the station, students parted to let her pass. Some with fear, some with admiration, but all with respect. And somewhere back on Earth, in a small town where she had learned to climb mountains and refused to quit, Maya's grandmother smiled and told everyone who would listen about her granddaughter who had taken on an alien professor and won. Because that was what humans did. They survived. They adapted. They overcame, and they never ever quit.